Voices of the Goddess.
Welcome to Voices of the Goddess, where authenticity is our compass and self-love is our North Star.
I'm Julietta, your guide through the realms of healing and self-discovery. As a holistic healer, light worker, way shower, and catalyst for positive change, I walk alongside you on this sacred path of awakening.
And I'm your co-host, Graciela. As a seasoned photographer, Reiki master, sound practitioner, and cacao ceremonialist, I love infusing my artistry with the alchemy of healing and ceremony.
Together, we create a safe space where your authenticity is celebrated, your voice is honored, and your heart is held in the embrace of love.
Join us as we dive deep into soulful conversations and journey towards the essence of who you really are.
Welcome to Voices of the Goddess.
Hello.
Hi, my friend.
We're just going with the flow today, right?
Totally. You know, I'm looking at myself. You guys know, if those of you that listen on the podcast, you're missing the joy of seeing me on YouTube because all I do, I really got to get my own face off this screen because all I see is all the little things that are wrong. I'm like, oh, this hair's out of place. Why did I wear this color? Oh, I look like a naked baby hamster in this color.
Well, I think that comes from your photography background because I literally don't care that much what I look like. And the hilarious thing is, though, I think the camera is doing a good job of concealing it, but never in a million years did I think this would happen. I had to ask my boyfriend for my makeup back this morning so I could cover this little blemish on my nose. But you know, he's been in the acting realm and he was doing some community theater and didn't realize until the day before that he had to do his own makeup for the production. And so we're just digging out my makeup, okay, here we go. And I'm trying to teach him. I mean, I don't know anything about doing stage makeup, but I'm okay, this is the foundation. You put this on your skin and, and he's like, I got no eyebrows. And I'm like, okay, here's the eyebrows. And so, a lot of times I don't put makeup on for the show because I'm wearing glasses, so you can't really see my eyes. And, whatever, it is what it is. I don't typically wear much makeup in my real life. It's reserved for, I'm getting dressed up for some kind of event or something. But so this morning I wake up with this nice red blemish on, I look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And, so I go to grab my makeup and I open it up and I realize oh my God, my makeup's not in here. Oh, that's right. I left it to my boyfriend. So I'm like, can I have my makeup back?
Perfect. That is the most millennial thing ever. That's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Good for him though, for diving in and getting ready for the stage. That's so exciting for him. He's doing so much good work.
He is. So this weekend he played a cult leader in this little film, and it was the cult of the immortal potato or something, and they spent all week. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be sharing this. I don't know if it's a secret or anything, but
that's
he was filming in a potato field all weekend.
That's phenomenal.
But he had a blast, so that's what matters.
Joy is first. That's the number one most important thing. So I was thinking about a story to tell you. What was it that I was talking about? We were talking about bending time, and we thought, man, this would be good to share with the audience. I've been thinking a lot about growth lately, right? And how I'm different and, just time passing and things like that and growing and learning and stuff. And I was remembering how when I was in my 20s, I always wore a watch. I loved watches, I had the old school Movado with the black face and the gold dot. I loved that. But I found that as I was driving to work, I would just keep looking at my watch going, oh my God, look at the traffic. Oh my God, I'm going to be late. Oh my God, I'm going to get fired. It's going to be horrible. Da, 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 da. And then I would go out to lunch, and at lunch, I couldn't enjoy my lunch because I was like, oh my God, we only have 20 minutes left. And what if they don't bring the food and what's going to happen? And finally, I just got so sick and tired of myself. I took the watch off, and this was before cell phones had, clocks on them, what have you, the time on them. And I stopped keeping track of time. And somehow that not only did it free me, but I actually ended up being on time all the time. I would say to myself, okay, I'm going to leave the house on time. What happens after I leave my house? I can't control anyway, right? I can't control the traffic. I can't control the construction zones. So I'm just going to leave my house and in earnest, get to work as fast as I possibly can safely, right? And it was just such a relief to get rid of that. And I find like today, for example, last night I forgot to set my alarm, which is weird because I always do, but I guess I was just exhausted. And this morning I woke up at exactly the time I needed to wake up at, naturally. Again, there's just so much flow lately. I don't know. Have you had any time bending experiences?
Well, growing up in the Midwest, if you aren't early, you're late. And growing up, there was always the one family that was always late for everything. And, everybody'd be like, oh, they're late again. And then when they would like finally stroll in, everybody would be like, and rolling their eyes, like. And
that's so normal for me as a Hispanic, I have to say.
And it was just considered like really disrespectful. And then hilarious thing, both my brother and I, our first spouses were habitually late. I was married to a Venezuelan, which like Venezuelan, if you're a half hour late, you're too early. I would have to like pick and choose, like, if it was important for us to be on time, I would lie to him and tell him that we had to be there a half hour earlier than what we needed to be there. But if it didn't really matter what time we were there, I would just tell him the real time and then just have to be okay with we were going to be late. But because if I always told him early, then he knew I was telling him early. So then he would always make us late anyway.
Such mental gymnastics.
But I haven't worn a watch for years. And for the most part, I don't stress about it anymore. I mean, there's occasions once in a while where things are a little bit crazy, but even when I'm running late, I was just, it's going to be okay. And most of the time I arrive on time. And I was laughing the other day, though. I went to yoga and I swear, like, I arrived at the same time I left my house. Like,
oh.
I'm like, the 3D mind of mine goes, I must have looked at the clock wrong and thought I left at a certain time and I actually left earlier. But I got to yoga and I'm like, how is this possible? This is what time I left my house and this is what time it is.
I got to tell you though, I've had that experience so many times where I've gotten in the car and I've said, man, I got 10 minutes to make it somewhere that's 20 minutes away. And it's like the Red Sea parting, like when I'm focused and when I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen. And I'm just declaring it. I couldn't tell you what sort of space-time bendy stuff is happening, but it is happening. It's just, yeah, it totally works. And I just feel so much better being in flow and not being worried about it, and that's not to say I get to places late. I don't, I'm not flippant about it, but definitely being in the flow makes a big difference. I had a mentor years back that would talk to me about, we would tweak my affirmations every couple of months, and one of the ones that she gave me was, I have time to accomplish everything I need. And I always remember that. Of course, I said it out loud every day for, years. But now, like this morning, for example, I had an hour to do an hour and a half's worth of stuff, including driving and setup and all this kind of stuff. And I just kept on saying to myself, I have enough time to do everything I need. And I did. As a matter of fact, I even got on early with you, right? Like,
yes, you did.
I guess I did, So
the other thing about going places too, especially living here in South Florida, parking is always an issue. And the other day, I forget even what happened, but my boyfriend was making me a little bit late for going to my yoga class. And where my yoga studio is, parking is an issue. And I'm like, it's even worse of a problem when you're running late because like I'm late and what if I can't find a parking place? And the funny thing was I told him, okay, this is fine. But now because you've made me late, you need to manifest a parking space for me when I get there. And as I'm driving there, I'm like, why am I asking him to manifest a parking space for me? I'm manifesting a parking space for me. I get there, a place where there's like almost never parking spaces. There were 2 parking spaces.
Yeah, oh, because both of you are doing it.
Absolutely.
There
So,
you
you know, it's funny how sometimes like we think that we have no power. And when we just really tap into who we are and declare what we want in this world, how often does it show up?
Truly, truly. You know, I was telling you about that Project 369 book that I've been working through, you know, the different workbooks. And so I have been physically writing out the same thing, you know, every day for a couple of months now. And it's been really incredible to see how goals that I've had for example, one particular financial goal, okay, because I've been doing the wealth consciousness book specifically this time around, and I had a specific financial goal for my business, and it was a big one. Like, you know, I had to like swallow really hard when I wrote it because I was like, okay, this is a big one. When I started writing it, it was almost a little bit scary, you know, but as I was writing it, I'm writing it every day, and every day I'm feeling more and more into it, and I'm like, this is it, this is my number, this is what's going to happen. And I just, how do I say this? Like, I almost call it like a loose grip, right? Like when I hyper focus on, I have to have this, and I realize I'm coming from lack, I don't achieve it. I never do. But when I say to myself, this is simply how it is, then things are much easier and I'm not stressing about it. So what did I do? I would write my goal every single day, my crazy, what's would be a
Big, hairy, audacious goal or something like that.
Exactly. It was one of those. And I wrote it every day. Anyway, the other day I realized, oh wow, March is over. I have to check my numbers, you know, for March, which usually shows up around the time I have to pay sales tax. That's when I really go look at the numbers. And man, not only did I meet that goal, but I actually surpassed it by like a couple $100. And I was like, I can't believe I did that. Like, it's incredible. And I always say, I can't believe, but I can believe because I did believe, right? I hope the editors grab that one. I can't believe, but I did believe because I believed. That's really what happened. And it's been so wonderful, honestly. You know, I think so many people walk around rolling their eyes saying, oh, you can't write something down a whole bunch of times and expect for it to happen. No, you can't, right? You can't just write things down. It's not just the writing it down that makes it happen. It's all the other things that writing it down brings up, right?
Yeah. And just because I don't think you gave a lot of clarity, since every episode we have a book. So let's make Project 369 our book for this month. And just want to like make clarity too for those listening out there. Because if you go on Amazon to buy a 369 a book, there's like a cajillion of them out there. And I'm going to tell you, I've looked at some of the other ones. You definitely want the Project 369 ones. The other ones, I guess you could use if you were just looking for a journal to write in, but they definitely don't have as much of the background and an explanation of what it is you're actually doing. And what is his name? Daniel.
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Yes.
I don't know. I can tell you that the way that he writes, you know, much like we mentioned in another episode, the concept of believing what you want to be done is what creates the thing, right? Whatever that is. And it's the topic of the movie, The Secret. It's what everybody says, and they all say it in 10 different ways, right? If you are particularly religious and you pray, then your prayer is a declaration that that is going to happen. And if you are a scientist, then you might have a different word for it, right? Or this morning I explained placebo effect to my kids, right? It's simply the believing of it. And so depending on how you want to, here, David Kasnecki.
It's David? It's not Daniel?
David Kasneci, Kasnecki. or maybe Cassini. I don't know. Anyway, it's the one that looks like it has a little universe on it. It has like all the stars. But
so do a lot of the other ones. So I'm just saying.
oh damn it.
We'll put the link.
We'll
We'll
put
put the link
website.
in.
Yeah, we'll put it in there because it's like.
But I love, like I am a Nikolai Tesla, like he's my history crush, even though like, I don't know, I don't think he was that interested in relationship with people. But what is his famous quote? Like, if you understood the power of the 369, you would understand how to master the universe, or something like that. I'm probably butchering the quote, but just the fact that this is about that. And I also, so the book that we're talking about actually goes into a bit of detail of the math of what is special and unique about 369 and why we use the 369. And just for pure simplicity, if you just want to do it and you don't want to get the book, you write what you're trying to manifest 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times at night before you go to bed. And, it can be that simple, but then there's also like putting that, feel what it feels like to actually have manifested before you manifest it. Like, you don't wait to feel that way until after you get it, because then you'll never get it. Feel that way before you have it. Feel like you've already achieved the whatever it is you're trying to manifest. And that was one thing too. Like the Secret doesn't talk about feeling things, and all the people that knew were just like frustrated with the Secret because they're like, they're missing the most important piece of it.
It's funny that the example that I remember hearing years ago, which kind of illustrated the point to me so clearly, is that let's say that you have a sensation of hunger, right? And so the thought comes into your mind that you want a pizza. And then like your body does the rest, right? You think, I want to have a pizza. What happens? Your mouth starts salivating, your stomach starts gurgling, right? Because and then you're literally imagining what it's going to be like to bite into that warm pizza. And then what do all these feelings and sensations naturally lead you to do? Effortless action. It invites you to pick up the phone and call and place the order. And then magically 30 minutes later, someone shows up with a pizza. So you didn't wait until you got the pizza. The pizza didn't magically appear, right? The pizza appeared because you made an action. That action was effortless to you because it was a joy to do it, right? You weren't begrudgingly calling the pizza place. I have to do hard work to get my pizza. No, it was easy to get the pizza. Why? Because that's what you wanted. So like, if you look at it, it's all the steps of manifesting. Why we make the rest of our lives more difficult than ordering a pizza, I don't know. That's our mistake, right? So if you want to have, I'm not even joking, like if you want to have $100,000 month in your business, it's the same steps as the pizza. The thought occurs to you, what does it feel like in your body to have $100,000 in a month? What would you do with that money? Plan it out, write it down, go on Amazon and put all that shit in your cart. Like, do the things as if you already had it. And then just keep going and it will show up just like that pizza. What's that, right? So when people like try and rip apart the concept of manifestation as something ridiculous, like, oh, you can't just think your way to whatever. Yes, the fuck you can. Trust me. Because what you already do it every day. You think to yourself, I have to go to work. Well, what happens next? Effortless action. You take a shower, you pick your clothes, you get your car keys, you get in the car and you drive. And guess what? As you're driving, you're literally avoiding obstacles. You're going around things. You're making short decisions. Do I brake? Do I turn? Do I notice, this car in front of me? The road is closed. Guess what? You take the detour and you still get to work, don't you? So why don't we do that with other things, right? Going to eat.
I want pizza now.
What's that? You want a pizza now? Me too.
The other piece I've been adding on top of it is, and I say this often, is I don't just write them down. I speak them out loud after I write them down. There's a lot to be said about frequency and vibration. And when you speak it, there's people that like their interpretation of the Bible and the creation story is that all that we see and have here was created by sound, by the word. And so I've been speaking them into existence as well, not just writing them. And it's been fun. I'm a little I keep telling people I'm like a little upset with Graciela. She was holding out on me. She didn't tell me about these books for a while. And but I think you've motivated a lot of us to do the 369, and now I've been sharing it with everybody. Like it's a really powerful tool.
You know what I love about it? It's like I almost like, you know, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. You know, he's got and I haven't read all his books. Like I'm manifesting more time so that I can really dive in even deeper. But, you know, for those people that like that super scientific approach of why this works, he does the science. You know, so there's a book called Becoming Supernatural, and it goes down into literally frequency, the movement of hormones and chemicals in your body, and like all the things that we consider this esoteric, you know, like Kundalini energy, right? And yoga, and, you know, having these out of body experiences, so to speak. You know, he explains from a scientific standpoint, like measurable numbers and experiments, how and why these things happen. And if you need that to understand it, then he's a great resource. And if you're like, listen, I don't care about the details, just tell me the bottom line. What do I need to know? How do I get there? That's what I like about 369. You know, there's even a part in the book where I'm at now in the book towards the end, where he's like, look, I could explain to you why this particular thing works, but just trust me and do the thing, you know? And sometimes in our crazy busy lives, you don't have time to do a real deep dive into the Joe Dispenza detail of everything. Sometimes you need a David, right? Project 369 to be like, look, I already did the math. I already did the research. I'm telling you, if you just follow these directions, this is what's going to happen. Right. And that's it. So, you know, I think the message is the same. I just think we're living in a time where you could get your message in any way you need to receive it, you know, and hopefully we're a part of that, you know, hopefully us passing this stuff along, you know, in a sarcastic and funny way helps.
Well, and that's what I've always said, you know, about, you know, inviting people on the podcast. And the reason we have so many people on and so many different people on, and yes, some of them are giving the same messages that somebody else already said, but you're delivering it in a different way that somebody out there in the audience needs to hear it in that way. I mean, there's been so many things in my life that I'm like, wow, I've heard this like, you know, 100 times already, but how you just said it to me sunk in at such a deeper level. Like I finally really understand this concept now. And I've had, you know, I used to teach quite a bit. And one of the methodologies that I taught, this woman, she came to me, she's like, this is like the 4th time I'm taking the class, but I'm telling you, this is the first time it's made any sense to me. And there was the piece of me, it's like, wow, that's impressive that she, even though she didn't understand it, she just kept going. And also very cool that, you know, I was finally able to explain it to her in a way that it made sense to her.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not to say that I was a better teacher at it. It just meant I was able to speak in a language such that she was able to finally grasp it. And so it's important, even if you're saying something that somebody already said, you say it your way so that it sinks in for somebody.
Yeah. You know, and I think that goes also to communication, right? Communication with friends, with your paramours, with your family. You know, sometimes you say something and you have to say it 3 different ways for them to get it, you know? So, and of course, you know, it works both ways, right? Communication is a 2-way street. So sometimes you have to hear it a couple of different ways before you really get it. You know, my kids have leaned into the phrase, I'm processing. And so sometimes I'll ask them to do something and I feel like they're not moving fast enough. I'm like, hey, I just asked you to do this thing. I need you to do it. And they'll look at me and they'll be like, Mom, I'm processing. like, give me a minute, right? It's one of the gifts I think of the computer world is that they've taught us what buffering is, you know, like, you know, as my one friend said when my text message wouldn't go through, he was like, the signal has to leave your phone, go all the way to outer space, find a satellite, bounce off of it, and come back down to Earth. Give it a second, right? So like, let's create a little bit more patience. And when I say let's, I'm obviously talking to myself first, right? Like, be patient with yourself and be patient when communicating with others, because there's some buffering, like, and sometimes you have to hear it a lot of different ways,
I also, the thing that when we were talking about this that came up for me as well is there is nothing new in the world. So, when people are like, oh, that message belongs to so-and-so and that message belongs to so-and-so. No, it doesn't. All of that information is in the collective consciousness. It just so happens maybe that person tapped into that piece of information a little bit quicker than you did, but it's not their information. They don't own it. And when people get all, in their stuff about, they stole my stuff, I'm like, it ain't your stuff.
Well, that's because we're looking at it from a capitalism, patentee, money lack sort of concept, right? I'm a photographer, and there are so many teachers in the industry, and there's a lot, because I watch the Facebook groups, there's a lot of emotions around, oh, I came up with this concept or this lighting or this particular setup, a woman laying in a bathtub holding a champagne glass, and then people are like, oh, there was this one controversy about the picture where a woman is standing by the window holding a cup of coffee. And when someone else came up with the same idea, it was like, oh, you're a copycat. No, it is perfectly natural all around the world to stand next to a window holding a cup of coffee. That is not one particular person's idea, like even the ideas that are super creative and super different, like, I don't know if you read, I'm sure you read Big Magic.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Gilbert, the story that she has in there, I'm not going to spoil it, but you guys have to read it. It's such a great book. It's so relatable and easy to read and just funny and juicy. But it talks about how ideas are literally just floating around us in the universe. And it's whoever has their station tuned in properly that gets to pluck that information. And then, gosh, it's not given to just one person. Like, it's there for everyone to pluck, right? It's there for everyone to download and pull from and have. And so that's why when you look back in history, you can see like Darwin wasn't the only person to talk about evolution, So many scientific discoveries have happened simultaneously in different parts of the world. We're only hearing the American version of it, but I promise you there are versions of all our discoveries everywhere else in the world. It's all happening all at the same time.
And there we go. We just rounded out our whole talk about time, because everything is happening all at once, and including multiple lifetimes, parallel universes, all kinds of, we could get all crazy here.
Those are, we write those down, that we're going to have to do whole separate episodes on all of those. Ghost ships, write that down. Ghost ships. We have to talk about ghost ships.
All right. Very good.
I'm so glad we got time to chat, just us, and the thousands of people listening all over the world. Love you guys.
Yes. And so thank you all for tuning in and listening. And we got a whole bunch of likes and loves on this show, so we must have said some fairly good stuff.
And feel free to communicate with us. Come hang out with us in the Facebook group. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can, or even Facebook, I think, you can leave comments. You can interact with us anytime. Be a part of the show. The more, the merrier.
All right. With that, it's a wrap. And I want to wish everybody a magical day.
Thanks for tuning in to another empowering episode of Voices of the Goddess. We hope today's conversation has ignited a spark within you, inspiring you to embrace your authenticity and cultivate self-love in your life. If you've enjoyed today's episode, we invite you to subscribe to our podcast and like, comment, and share it with your friends and loved ones. Your support helps us spread the message of empowerment and healing around the world. Don't forget to check the show notes for ways to connect with us and today's special guest, and to find additional resources to help you on your journey. Remember, you are worthy of love, you are worthy of joy, and you are worthy of all the blessings this universe has to offer.
Until next time, remember to honor your truth and spread love wherever you go.